Hi, I am Alice and I run The Main Quest, a website where I write news, reviews, and other articles about horses in video games. This video is a bit of an experiment because I'm publishing an article with the same content on themainquest.com as usual, but I'm uploading this video as an experiment with a new format for those of you who prefer the spoken word over the written. If you prefer to read the article instead, you can find a link in the video description below. Without further ado, let's get into it. Star Equestrian is a brand new mobile horse game with an online open world for you and your friends to play in. Brought to you by Foxy Ventures, the Australian studio behind horse riding tales, Star Equestrian will offer cross-country and show jumping, an open world to explore, story missions and daily quests to complete, and quite a variety of horses and tack to collect and level up. The game is coming to iOS and Android. Star Equestrian will be free to play, with earnable and buyable premium currency used for unlocking new horses and tech items. A beta playtest has been underway since February. To get my feedback and give me an opportunity to ask a few questions, Foxy Ventures product manager Stephen Reddy invited me to a live playthrough and video call. Join me today for a preview of what the game has to offer, and stay tuned for a further insight on Foxy's plans for Star Equestrian. Welcome to Evervale, a land of stunning vistas and lush forests where the culture is rich and vibrant. As a rising equestrian star, you dream of competing in the prestigious Star Championship. The game's introductory quests are told in a mixture of text screens, gameplay, and cutscenes. You, the aspiring Star Equestrian, meet a mysterious magical horse that you name Snowdrop, and you promptly lose him again through an accident. The real game begins 2 years later when you return to your hometown of Heartside to participate in the Star Championship as you've always wanted. The storytelling here felt a bit rushed in the version I've played, but it's understandable that a mobile game would want to let its player get to the actual gameplay quickly. In addition, Stephen from Foxy Ventures showed me how the team has been reworking the game's intro to address a few common issues found in the playtests. So you'll be playing an extended and tweaked version of these intro missions in the release version. Star Equestrian lets you play as a male or female equestrian, giving you randomized name options and a handful of clothing items, hairstyles, and skin colors to choose from. The character creator is basic, but serves its purpose, especially since more hair and clothing can be unlocked later in the game. Your next handful of missions gets you familiar with the map navigation in the village of Heartside and introduces you to some new and old friends that supply you with your first horse and tack, teach you how to participate in qualifying events for the championship, and help you put up wanted poster for the mysterious Snowdrop, who's been seen around town recently. Upon your arrival in Heartside, auction house owner Joy gifts you your very first silver key, an item that lets you unlock a door behind which you will find your first horse, and with which you'll have a chance to receive further horses or tack items in the future. You buy keys for gems, and you can buy gems for real money, and each key is a gamble for tack or horses. This loot box is the core of Star Equestrian's monetization, and likely what you'll be saving any gems earned through quests for. But more on the premium model later. Let's first have a look at the horses themselves. There are 12 different breeds in the game at the moment, including one fantastical Paradise Quarter horse alongside real breeds such as Clydesdales, Shires, Mustangs, Arabians, and Friesians. From the market preview screens, I like the draft breed model significantly more, but the only ones I've gotten keys for and was able to take a closer look at so far were the Paint Horse, Australian Stock Horse, and Mustang. The models and animations are custom made by Foxy, which blessedly means that we don't see the usual Horse Anim Set Pro related problems. The horse models and animations have a few issues of their own though. On the paint and stock horse models, the eyes are a bit forward set and too forward facing for my taste, or as I call it, a mild case of predator horse. The muzzle shape is a bit strangely slanted and the pastern looks slightly stumpy. The Mustang looks unfortunately wonky to me in terms of conformation and rigging, and several of the breeds strike me as having legs too short for their own body length. One interesting error that completely went past me but was spotted in the game trailer by a TMQ community member is that the horses in Star Equestrian were cross-cantering. Their forelegs and back legs are on opposite canter leads, which means that the two right legs, instead of the right hind left fore diagonal, meet the ground at the same moment. Foxy Ventures thanked me for my lengthy email explaining all this and promised it would be fixed for the game's release. You won't see the faulty canter animation in the game anymore. I am really mentioning this as a lovely example of the TMQ community being able to help devs with horsey details. One other negative standout in my preview version was the rider and saddle positions. The positions of different saddles are all over the place and the rider doesn't look quite right in any of them. The rider's pelvis manages to balance somewhere on the cantle more often than not instead of in the actual seat. The rider's posture is somewhat hunched forward, their knees too high up and too far in front. This has been at least partially fixed before release, as you can see in this comparison. Beyond that, the animations are solid, though the walk is a bit stiff at the back, with a head carriage that I'd call too high for a relaxed horse. Alas, there's always details to improve, but compared to many animated horses, the Star Equestrian steeds are doing quite well. And I'm at a point where I'd much rather see devs make their own new mistakes with horse animations instead of everyone using the same asset pack with all its flaws. Apart from the main quests about finding Snowdrop and training for the championship, Star Equestrian offers side missions as well as repeatable daily tasks related to feeding and training. Most of the missions I've seen so far reward the player with valuable gems, including the dailies. After the live playthrough with Foxy Ventures, I played for another 2 to 3 hours and soon reached 50% completion in the main story. What I've seen so far is engaging, but it's fair to assume that eager players will run out of story content fairly quickly upon release. After that, it's dailies, events, leveling, and ranch building that will keep people busy. Star Equestrian currently features 2 riding disciplines, cross-country and show jumping. Both feature the same timing-based challenge for getting jumps right, but the cross-country courses are a bit more about managing your stamina well, while show jumping asks you to follow the ideal path between obstacles. Neither innovation is particularly innovative, but they're solid and satisfying to play. I found myself repeatedly motivated to try again after finishing a suboptimal round, sure that I knew what I did wrong and could do better next time. Individual races are always brief enough to stay interesting, and the cross-country courses do an excellent job of showing off the game's lovely environments. To proceed in the events, you will need to level up your horse, or you'll quickly be under-equipped for the next qualifying race in the championship. Participating in events provides experience, and you can boost individual stats by giving your horse different food items, which you pick up in the world. Riding around the open world to pick up carrots, pumpkins, weeds, heads of lettuce, and more therefore becomes a decent investment of your time if you have a few minutes to kill, which is of course perfect for the type of short session playstyle that many mobile games strive to provide. In addition to the leveling of stats, you can also slowly build up your bond to your horse through riding, petting, and feeding. Bonding unlocks cute new petting animations and a few new tricks such as a faster sprint and a sliding mechanic. Higher level stats give you better control over your horse, though I have not played enough to really test that in depth. I imagine that those differences become particularly noticeable once you level one horse up high and then get yourself another one through the key system. Through the gems and keys you also get tack items, which you can then either equip directly or strip for parts to improve your main tack. That process costs significant amounts of gold though, which has put a bit of a damper on my motivation for it, particularly since I'd rather spend that gold in ranch customization. It takes a handful of missions until Star Equestrian lets you in on one of its most interesting features. You can purchase empty slots of land, place buildings on them, and then decorate your stables and houses in detail, the Sims style. It's a concept that I'm incredibly excited for in theory, but haven't been quite convinced by in practice. Earning enough gold in events to afford furniture and decorations is a relatively slow process. I assume players will be kept busy for a while to build their dream home one potted plant at a time. In addition to the beta app, the Foxy team also provided me with a special preview build of the game with generous amounts of gold and gems in my coffers. I therefore had opportunity to play around with the ranch building in more detail, and I'm a bit torn. On the one hand, I absolutely love that this is a thing. I find the concept of decorating a virtual space for myself quite satisfying. At the same time, though, I'm not one to do it solely for the aesthetics. By upgrading your ranch, you do unlock a variety of perks for yourself and your stalled horses, so there is a mechanical benefit here. The Star Equestrian Ranch Builder also lets you enter your custom-built ranch in the game's regular third-person mode, which is very cool, but it's also where you realize just how little you can actually do with any of the items you spent all that hard-earned gold on. I can build stalls for my horse, but I cannot take off their tack while they're in them. I can buy brushes, feed troughs, and saddle stands, but neither I nor my horse can interact with the items in any way. I get it, this isn't The Sims, and living in my ranch isn't a core feature, but it still made the whole experience feel a bit shallow to me very quickly, which is a shame. Then again, I am far from the most creative player in such matters. My Stardew Valley farm and my Animal Crossing island are not exactly inspirational material, and I can well imagine that the ranch building will bring more joy to others, especially once using it to brag about your progress to fellow players becomes a thing. One of the main points of criticism in my review of Horse Riding Tales was its aggressive monetization. I'm happy to say that my impression of Star Equestrian's freemium model is a lot more positive so far. Spending gems on a chance of getting a horse isn't exactly a lot of fun, and people take issue with loot box mechanics in games for good reason. But this is a free-to-play game, and all things considered, it gives you a lot of its content to play for free. There are no paywalls on world, events, or quests, nor does Star Equestrian limit players in participating in one race after another to earn more gold and gems. Buying and using keys quickly gets a bit tedious when repeatedly receiving tack items, especially since using those for upgrades consumes significant amounts of hard-earned gold. The variety of horse color and marking combinations, several of the breeds have millions of possibilities, means that getting a specific breed or color is going to require a massive investment of either time or money. It's hardly my favorite type of game monetization, but it is certainly a huge step up from horse riding tales, and I am vastly more forgiving towards the concept of grinding for currency in a game where the grinding itself is actually fun and enjoyable. I came away from my initial live playthrough with an uncomfortably cramped neck and a big desire to put my phone away. I am not one to play for extended periods of time on a small smartphone screen. The first-time experience was made significantly worse by performance problems. A low frame rate and input lag made navigating the game a lot harder than it needed to be. Fortunately, I since realized that keeping my play sessions short to keep my phone from overheating does wonders for the game's performance, and I've had a significantly better experience only playing 10 to 20 minutes at a time. Fortunately, the gameplay is very much suited to such short sessions, and I can easily imagine players tackling a quick event or two in their coffee break, or collecting and feeding a few carrots while waiting for the bus. I've spent more time playing the mobile game than I initially thought I would, but I can't deny that I'd be vastly happier with a PC port. Unfortunately, though, that is not something Foxy plans to release anytime soon. I imagine that the game fares better on newer phone models. I play on a 6-year-old iPhone X, and that tablet users and players more used to playing on mobile will have a better time with it. I did encounter a handful of minor technical issues, such as quests not continuing until I restarted the game, or running into somewhat awkward invisible walls at the edges of accessible areas, but all in all the game feels polished and functional. The controls, menu navigation, and overall user experience are fluid and intuitive. The game even offers a multitude of shortcuts for convenience, like letting you collect and interact with everything from horseback while exploring, showing pickup items on the minimap, and offering direct access to other menus whenever they were relevant. There is no doubt that Star Equestrian is a more mature and well-rounded product than Horse Riding Tales, and one that offers significantly more gameplay fun to players who aren't looking to spend large amounts of money on it. With its ranch building and mobile open world, Star Equestrian already brings a few novelties to the table that enrich our genre, and I know from my contact with the Foxy team that the game will be further expanded from here. Our interactions have also made it clear that Foxy takes the horsey target audience seriously, and that they're eager for more detailed feedback and willing to improve what doesn't quite work yet, rather than settling for the minimum. More on the game's development and what Star Equestrian's release means for Horse Riding Tales will be covered in an upcoming article. I'll put a link to that in the description once it's up. I can't yet say how much time I personally will be spending with Star Equestrian, but my hesitation is more about personal taste for platform and business model rather than about widely applicable criticism. All in all, I'm excited to observe the game's initial reception and further development, and I'm optimistic that it'll turn out to be a worthwhile addition to the growing horse game canon. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of the format, and if you want to see more of my articles presented this way in video form. I can't promise right now that I'll do this for future articles, but your feedback matters, and I'd love to hear what you thought. Thank you so much, and bye!